Steve, you and I are checking out something normally myself and Scott check out. It's a city builder survival game, and we're checking out Farthest Frontier. What are your thoughts on this one? This is kind of a bit of a new genre for you.
Oh, very much. I've played something similar, but I will say I did struggle heavily on this game. I've only played probably one or two, and unfortunately for me, I'm like a bull in a china shop. I go in there and just click on everything, and it is a thinking game and strategic and that kind of thing. I was a little bit disappointed there was no tutorial at the beginning. So it just basically throws you straight on the plot of land and off you go. And to be honest with you, all I was doing was clicking trees to chop down or harvest and just trying to clear the area. But what I didn't realise is, because you have the seasons as well, and they go pretty quick. So you have to keep an eye on that, because next thing I know is your civilization's getting hungry, and they're getting cold and they're getting tired. And I thought, oh, I need to build some shelter. And it took me a while to navigate to find out how to build the huts, to say the least.
Absolutely. It took me about 3 times after restarting the game to finally have a little bit of it click. Because the first time, snow came, everybody starved and died. Second time, same thing more or less, as I was starting to kind of, okay, what's going on here? Because they don't tell you or explain anything at all. They just throw you in. And sometimes that's okay. But for anybody who's new, they're going to have a hard time getting in. I'm like, okay, I got to get my foraging up and running. I've got to get shelter for my people because they're just dying. Because next thing you know, if you blink, winter's here. Now, I did keep it on like speed 3 the entire time. I actually got to the point where I had it on speed 3 and went over and I did a bunch of emails and then came back, because the progress of everything takes so much longer than some of the other games I played in the past. You just sit there and you wait and you wait and you wait. I'm like, why am I still waiting, right? For a game like this, you want to be constantly feeling like you're progressing instead of just kind of hanging out, because there's nothing else to do, because you start with such a small pool of villagers that they can only use up so many resources to have them doing all their stuff. And the biggest thing for me, Steve, is that when they set up and you get going, to go out and forage, you set your building and then you send people to forage, but then you have to tell them to keep going out to forage. I'm like, go chop a tree down. We need those resources because we're trying to build this shelter. It takes 20 logs, 30 logs, whatever it may take. And yet it stopped production altogether because everybody's just idling and they're standing around not doing stuff. I'm like, I understand, because this is your occupation. So like, go do something. That's the biggest thing for me.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is you cut the trees down. And like I said, I was just clicking on everything to get resources and not realizing how long it took for them to cut the tree down. So I had to actually stop trying to work out how to cancel the activity to concentrate on other things, because the other issue I had was all of a sudden I had a load of waste, and you have to build a compost thing, and I had nowhere to put it. So now I had to flatten the ground, and it's little green squares. You have to little squares at a time, and that took forever. And then unfortunately, if you don't do it quick enough, your villagers get sick.
Yep. I had 4 houses, Steve, and there was garbage like everywhere. And I'm trying to build this thing as quickly as possible, but everybody stops doing production and they're not doing anything. And this is where I was getting frustrated, because they should just go do their job so that I can get this building built, and then I want to build another house, and then I want to build this and I want to build that. There's so many things that start to unlock the further you progress. Of course, it's kind of how this game is designed, right? This is what you do in a city builder. You want to get to that next tier, but to get to that next tier, even at speed 3, which is the fastest speed you can go, is still at a snail's pace. And it just takes forever for any production to happen here. And it's just, it becomes boring and tedious. Steve, there are a lot of unfortunate events when it comes to Farthest Frontier, but there's a lot of good things too. I think the game looks pretty. I think it looks stunning. When winter hits and you see everybody walking through the snow, it's gorgeous looking. I absolutely adore that. And one of my biggest things that I personally love to do is zoom in. I know it's a city builder and you always zoomed out, but sometimes you like to just kind of join in with the villagers, join in with the town or the village or the city or whatever you're building at the time, and get down to that level, right? And you can zoom in that closely. I thought that was cool. There is a level of a learning curve here that's going to take a little bit to get in, but once you get in, it does become rewarding, right? Like, you get in so far, your farmers need to pay attention to the soil grade. Like that's minute and something you don't see in a lot of city builders, especially like this. But when you get in there, like there's a slider and sometimes it's in the red. You need to move that up to the green and have it ready. So then you can get in to make your lettuce or produce your wheat or whatever vegetables you kind of got going for the garden. There's a lot going on. I did get hit with some bandits, Steve. I survived though.
I did.
Did you survive?
Yeah, I think it attacked one of my characters and it went half the health.
Yeah.
But I had more concerning issues. I did have bears coming into my settlement.
Yep.
And also predators as well. And then you just click on the like a magnifying glass and it shows you where it is. But I couldn't do anything because I didn't have any
hunters
people to attack them.
Yeah.
I just had normal Sawmill people and people like that. But I will say one thing as well. I did like the way they made it more believable as a settlement.
Sure.
Obviously, you have to worry about the welfare of the civilians, basically, if they're happy or unhappy.
Yep.
I did find as well that when I built the sawmill, it can catch fire.
Oh yeah.
And it is like, ooh, I wasn't expecting that in this game. So you have to make sure you obviously drinking water and wells is and also a big plus in this game.
Yeah.
And I also did love the audio background music. I thought it's very soothing at first.
Sure.
Just sort of like the background as you're building your village, but as time progresses, it was like, it
put a
needs a little bit
podcast
more.
on or right? Something
It
else.
needs something like that. Yes.
Yeah, there is a bit of an energy drop in the game, right, as the game progresses, because there is no story campaign. You're really just trying to build your civilization to expand and become bigger and bigger and bigger. There is no story point in the game. Now, granted, this is early access, so what the future holds is still yet to come. So we are still early stages. But Steve, overall, what are your thoughts? What are you wrapping up? You recommending this one, or aren't you?
To be honest with you, it's kind of like hit and miss for me. And to be honest with you, I'm going to probably say not recommend at this present state of game.
Sure.
I would wait until it's fully released because there is bugs and issues as well. And I don't know, it's just kind of lacking something, a bit more of a tutorial or a bit more guidance. Unfortunately for me, most of my whole village, I had a flourished town and everyone got sick. And all of a sudden, they all died. They either got typhoid, or they got worms, or scabies, or something. And they just all died.
I'll perish.
All in about 2 minutes. All of a sudden, the crucifix come up, went, and it's like, and I had one person left running around trying to build stuff.
Oh.
So, yeah, unfortunately for me, it's going to be a not recommend at the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. I'm going to agree with you there, Steve. I'm not going to recommend this right now either. Wait a little bit longer. There are other games in the genre that do it better, and that's really what it comes down to. Like, there's Banished. This is a 2018 game. That's a great game. Granted, Farthest Frontier isn't quite there yet, but it's still a good game, just not quite where it should be to that next level. So I definitely hold off. Not recommend for me as well.